The galaxy remembered silence, but, after humanity spoke, silence no longer felt safe. Enemy fled into the dark, its fragments scattering beyond mapped space, bleeding damaged, but alive human fleets did not chase blindly. Thief followed with person narration followed the aftermath, ships drifting in loose formation, crews exhausted beyond words, eyes hollow, hands steady, repairs continued, wounds were treated, names of the fallen were spoken, quiet lino statues, no speeches, just memorion. The flagship, the commander, stood before a star map, new paths glowing across. Ithaman scouts had followed the enemy fragments, tagged them, tracked them through regions no empire clameth. Enemy had a direction, a home. This truth changed everything back. On Earth, leaders listened in stunned silence. They had hoped the war would end, Hirite would no third-person eyes watched fear rise, then harden into resolve. Humanity had crossed a line, there was no return to innocence. The commander sent a message to Earth: this enemy survives by hunting alone, we will not let it choose the timeth. Message was clear, humanity would take the fight forward across the fleet. A new order spread, not shouted, not announced, repair for long. Pursuit crews understood what it meant, years, not months distance, not glorisome. Wept quietly, thinking of homes they might never see. Others smiled, knowing why they stayed daily, and observers watched in disbelief. No empire chased threats into the unknown, it was too costly to unset. Small fleets broke away, following different trails, mapping enemy movement. Each group became a story of its own. Third-person narration followed one such group, a handful of ships. Patched Scaradthi entered a region of twisted stars, gravity storms, radiation waves. This was where the enemy hid. Thee did not rush thee. Watched, listened, weighty time stretched. Then they found Summerthinger graveyard worlds, stripped bare orbits, empty stars. Dimith, this enemy had been here before many times. Human crews felt the weight of Ithis was what silence allowed. Enemy appeared again, weaker, desperate, did not attack it, fled. Humans followed, not with rage but purpose. Across the galaxy, other human groups reported similar finds patterns. Emageth enemy was not endless, was wounded. Corner Rhodamon analysts pieced together its origin, not a species, but a system, a living network built to consume, never meant to be. Question Aduntal Nouth commander gathered all remaining fleets on a wide channel. This ends when it can never rise again. O cheer follow idly, acceptancy. Final push began. Human fleets converged on the enemy home region. A space twisted beyond natural law. Enemy gathered everything it had. Lethus would be the last stand. Alien empires watched from afar, terrified, unable to look away. This battle was not for territory or power, it was for existence. Enemy struck first with everything. Space tore itself apart. Ships vanished in flashes of light. Human fleets absorbed the blow, lost many, held formation. Thun they advanced, no clever traps, no retreats, just forward. Human ships burned, exploded, kept moving. They targeted the core systems. The origin no death this time, there would be no fragments left to flee. Enemy fought with desperation it had never known. Furno, it the Dooman Marines boarded massive structures, fighting inside living metal dark holes, shifting walls. The advanced room by room, loss by losnet, because it was efficient, but because it was final. Third-person narration slowed as the core destabilized. Dirgy surged structures, collapsium. Ships pulled back, those that could. Commander watched the readings, heart heavy. This was if enemy tried one last signal, not a threat, not a demander. Question we humans did not answer with words, the answered with action. The core imploded, taking everything with it. Space folded, then stilled. Silence returned, but this time it was differento movement, no shadow, no echo. Enemy was gone. Human fleets drifted among the ruins. What remained of them? Crews cried openly, laughed. Collapsity had survived something the galaxy thought impossibly. Messes spread faster than light. Enemy is destroyed. Galaxy reacted in waves. Relief, fear, wonder. Empires rewrote their histories, removed their silence, added excusements, did not correct them. They did not Karithi. Commander sent one final broadcast, not just to the galaxy, but to the future. Answered because someone had toasted, because others could not finish it, so no one else would have Tothan. The channel closed. Human fleets turned slowly toward home. Those that could, many would never return back. Their story would third-person narration ended with Earth rising in the distance, blue quiet humanity had gone to the stars as listeners had returned, as a warning hen the galaxy cries for help humans will answer rind, when monsters rise in silence humans will. This was the end of the story and the beginning of the legend. New shapes formed larger than before. Swarm was learning human fleets adjusted formations. Sharing targeting data linking systems. The had learned Tooth Commander gathered remaining captains on a tight channel have one advantage. Sadeway adapt. Faster no long speech, no heroic tone just truth plan changed again humans would not hunt every fragment they would strike key points, force the enemy to chase shadows would turn the swarm against itself, small human groups broke away fast ships. Stealth holstry lured enemy fragments, pulled them into each other, into debris fields, into unstable gravity. Zones the enemy reacted, but its reactions clashed parts of it attacked parts of it self-confusion, spread alien observers watched in were not overpowering the enemy, they were outthinking it bet. The enemy still had strength. Massive structure began forming near the dead world, pulling fragments in water. New larger stronger human sensors. Screamed this was the real Hearth Commander. Stared at it, knowing what it meant to neither charge another sacrifice a bit. The fleet was thin. Now third-person narration followed a heavy cruiser, one of the last intact capital ships. Its captain requested permission. He knew the answer before it came up. Granted's cruiser turned toward the forming Korea. Its engines flared bright far beyond safe limits. The ship was old, its systems patched and weren't, but it was strong. Crew members secured themselves. Some sent final messages, others simply worked. They did not cry, they did not shout. The focused's enemy noticed the cruiser, but to late human fleets launched everything to support it. Cover fire decoys. Jamekth cruiser took hit, armor peeled, sections vanish. Headstall, it moved. Veden, the bridge. The captain watched the core grow, felt the ship shaky, smiled once. This Izinoth cruiser slammed into the forming core, detonating its reactors. Blast ripped space. A path new core collapsed before completion. The enemy screamed not in sound, but in disruption. Human sensors showed fragments losing coordination. Agon, but this time something else happened. Swarm began pulling away. Treth. Enemy was leaving painfully, but leaving the battlefield grew quiet. Trek. Drifted stars. Reappeared. Dammon ships held position, not trusting it. Monutes passed than horse no new. Contact Salian observers across the galaxy watched in stunned silence. Impossible had happened. Humans had stopped it. Nat. Destroyed, not erased but stoppeth. Commander ordered a full scan rescue operations. Trio survivors were pulled from broken hulls. Wounded were treated. Names record. Edna given Quailino. Victory music, no celebration. Lee. Exhaustion. Third-person narration returned to Earth. People watched the feeds, saw the enemy retreats, saw human ships still standing. Cheers rose, then faded into tears. Understood the cost back among the stars. The commander looked at the dead world. Again to late, for it bet, not for others, sent a simple message into the void. This system is under human protection. Oh. Threat no boast, just fact. Message spread faster than any weapon. Alien empires listened to Sma. Felt shame, some felt relief, some felt further. Realized something new. Humans did not need permission. They did not need dominance. They only needed a reason. Part for ended with the fleet holding the line, wounded, reduced but unbroken. The galaxy beginning to understand this was not a one-time answer. Humanity had stepped onto the stage and it would not step back. The galaxy did not return to normal. It only pretended. After the enemy retreated, silence spread across the stars, but it was not peaceit, was watching. Third-person narration followed the human fleet as it remained in position, ships drifting. Crews exhausted, systems barely holding. They did not chase, they did not celebrate. Timmons. New predators that ran away often came back. Scans continued wide and deep. What they found was Rivingth. Enemy fragments were not gone, they were hiding, scattering into dark regions, masking energy signatures. It was not a defeat, it was a poison. The flagship. The commander listened to reports, his face unreadable. The enemy learns, it adapts, it waits. Humans knew this pattern well back on Earth. Governments argued. Voices rose. Fear returned. Some demanded the fleet come home, others demanded reinforcement. Civil channels filled with DBT. We heroes or targets third-person eyes watched the commander ignore the noise. SH sent one message to Earth: if we leave now the war follows us hometh. Message ended all Daboteth fleet. Stadereppers began an open space cruise worked around the clock, using scrap-sharing parts, improvising human adaptability turned wreckage into resourcely, and observers watched this with confusion. Of the species repaired in docks behind shields, humans repaired in the dark under threat. Dead world below became a quiet memorial. Human ships passed it slowly, no words spoken. Thing knew why they were there. Fun, the first sign cameo. Distant sensor flicker, brief almost misedthan. Another enemy was probing against. More careful, smarter human scouts tracked movement through debris clouds, through warped gravitithe. Enemy was testing human defenses, learning response. Person narration shifted to a stealth frigate, far from the main fleet. Tights. Crew whispered hands ready. Let the enemy get close to Clossathon. They struck just precise. Enemy probe vanished, but this time the enemy reacted differently. Instead of retreat, it changed direction. It moved toward a populated trade route. Toward civilian human command saw the move instantly. The enemy had learned the truth: humans would always protect others. Commander did not hesitate. Split the fleeter, dangerous choice. Half would stay, half would intercept. Alien observers panicked. Splitting meant weakness, but humans saw opportunity. The interception force moved fast, pushing engines beyond limits. They arrived too late to stop the first Strikia civilian convoy. Burned ships, torn apart. Human crews saw survivors, drifting gridge, spread, but discipline held rescue first, then Hunthuman Marines boarded wrecked ships, pulled survivors out, shielded them with their own body. Alien civilians watched humans die for them. Was new. This was terrifying. This was inspiring. This enemy watched too. It saw something it could not calculate. Humans did not prioritize efficiency, prioritized meaning. This confused the enemy. It slowed Ithaman fleets, used the Delathy, boxed the enemy. Fragments inherited them. Tuard empty species. Battle was smaller than before, but more intensive. Enemy fought harder. More focused. Human losses continued. Then the enemy made its move. It sent a signal, not a weapon, not an attacker. Messageaman systems struggled to translate it, but the meaning became clearly of, or we will erase you. Third-person narration followed the commander as he read. Etherd did not answer. Instead, he ordered a broadcast open, unfiltered. This is humanity. Do not leave those who cannot run. Do not trade lives for safety. Do not forget. Message went out across the system, across alien networks. Enemy received. It analyzed the words found, noticed thing for the first time. The enemy hesitated, not from fear, but from uncertainties. Species was broken, emotional, inefficient. Its stoots. Enemy attacked again, harder this time, aiming directly at the human command ships. Flagship shook. Systems failed. Fires spreadin'. The bridge officers worked through smoke. Blood noiseth. Commander stayed standing, watched the enemy concentrate fire. Understood this was an attempt at decapitation. Smiled faintly. Humans had learned this lesson long ago. Command was distributed again. As the flagship burned, the fleet fought. ANU leaders rose. Instantly, orders flowed. The enemy gained nothing. Human ships closed in. The targeted enemy coordination nodes, not cores, not yet. The blinded, confused, isolated enemy fragments began colliding, misfiring, losing cohesion. Tide turned agony. Observers saw the truth. No, this was not luck. This was doctrine. Humanity had prepared for this kind of war, even without knowing the in-meth. Enemy began another retreat. But humans did not let it go easily, marked its path. Tagged fragments, tracked destination. She were mapping the enemy, now learning where it came from, where it hid, where it would run. Part 5 ended with a quiet but terrifying realization spreading through the galaxy. Enemy was not the only one learning. Humanity was becoming something new, not conquerors, not saviors, but hunters. And the war was far from over. The silence after the first clash felt heavier than battle. Human ships floated among drifting wreckage. Glowing fragments of enemy probes faded into the dark. Third-person narration followed the fleet as it adjusted formations. Titan damaged vessels were pulled inward. Shields realigned. No cheers. Camino Relief Avirion knew this was only the beginning. Gone. The flagship. The commander stood still, hands behind his back, eyes locked on the stars. Aedes officers waited thee, trusted him but fear lived quietly. In every breath-deep space, sensors pulsed against this. Time the readings were different mystively. Enemy was no longer testing at, was arriving far beyond the system. Edge shadows formed not ships, at first but shapeshuge, and slowly bent lightly. Swallowed stars alien observers across the galaxy detected the same think and panic spread like Pharethus. Was the force they had fared reason. They ignored the distress. Kalat was not an army yet, was an ending human. Analysts worked fast, hands flying over intercepts, loathly compared, data matched, pattern searched, ancient archivson, truth. Became clear the enemy did not fight like empire as it erased resistance through scaly overwhelmance on humanity. Was not ready for Skelethi commander. Finally, spoke cannot win by matching Themno. One argued third-person perspective, moved to the support ship, same small vessel, often overlooked its crew watched the enemy forms grow larger. Fear screens filled with impossible numbersome swallowed. Fearsome clenched fists known looked away, had volunteered, knowing this moment might come in, the flagship the commander ordered a fleet-wide channelison, Carefilius voice was steady of fight differently. Explained the plans, would not hold ground thee, would not chase kills thee, would draw the enemy in stretch, it force it to react themans. Were good at forcing reactions. Fleet began to move not toward the enemy but Awalian observers, gasped humans were spread fastamans are running gaven the enemy, hesitated confused by the movement it followed slow. At first hand faster human ships, broke formation in controlled waves leaving trails of debris, and false signals the enemy chased consumed the trails believed. It was winning each human ship lost tightened. The trap third-person narration shifted to Earth people watched. Delayed feeds their faces, Palethi saw their fleet falling back thee. Heard reports of Losasum, creeds, some prayed some, ragged but, the fleet continued far from the dead world far from safe Tuntal. The commander gave the next order turn human ships, reversed course at one senate toward the enemy Masbet around Ithi, began striking exposed edge supply. Structure synergy, no dest enemy reacted. Too slowly parts of it, faltered sections, dimmed fur, the first time the enemy felt panic, responded with very massive energy waves. Surged space twisted human ships were torn apart, but others slipped through the fight, became chow sight within the chaos. Logic remained theme marked, patterns timed reactions learned, weaknesses strike revealed more deep inside the enemy formations, something pulsator. Rhythm analysts saw if enemy was not fully distributed, relied on control, centerscut. The swarm would fracture the commander, saw the risto reach the core meant sacrifice. Did not hesitate Avlanta ships step forward. Response was immediate to. Immediate actions across the fleet signaled Redenesevan damaged ship's commander. Chose carefully support ship, was selected its crew froze for one breath and Nededthi. Had known third-person narration followed Themis, their ship-powered engines beyond safe limits the accelerated toward the enemy heartfire surrounded them shields. Screamed systems failed inside, the ship crew members worked silently hands. Steady faces Palethi did not speak of deathy, spoke of timming seconds mattereth. Enemy noticed the chargeite focused everything on the support ship beams, Strukama, burn. Kraketh's ship shook violent listle, it moved on the flagship. The commander watched Dunable, to look away he whispered nothing across the galaxy, alien viewers stared in horror this was not how wars were Fothus. Was madness this, was humanitide support. Ship broke through the outer layer alarms, deadlights went dark manual controls, Engajedthi crew saw the Korea massive structure pulsinative, had one chance if he launched everything every weapon every charge every last power stealth ship disintegrated. In the blast for a moment, nothing happened. Then the core flickereth, enemy mass shuttered formations, broke signals, filed human sensors, lit up the enemy, was losing cohesion. Fleet did not celebrate it, depressed, the attack methodical Trantral galaxy. Watched history change, third-person narration slowed, as the enemy began to collapse. Note all at once but, piece by piece, the cost was heavy human. Losses filled screens but, the swarm was breaking. Part 3 ended with a quiet truth spreading across the star. Humans could bleed, humans could fall, but when they chose to fight the would break even monster sand. The war had only just begun. Enemy did not die all at one seat. fractured pieces of the swarm, drifted apart some, went dark some, moved without purpose some, turned violent in random bursts. Human senses struggled to track its space itself, felt unstable. Third-person narration followed the fleet note. Scattered wounded still fighting ships, burned slowlithers, limped forward on failing engineers. No one spoke. Of victory cost was to freshen the flagship. The commander closed his eyes, for one long breath. Support ship was Gonit's signal erased. Allowed himself one moment of grief, then opened his eyes. Battle was not finished. Ed's enemy was wounded not. Defidip scans showed something terrifying. Core destroyed was not the only one. There were other shit in Dart Haintwind. Swarm had backup. Human analysts shared the datafaces. Palavoices tight. This enemy had planned for Lost Galaxy, had never fought something that planned this. Deployline. Observers began to panic. There. Safe borders suddenly felt meaningless. Misses flooded there. Council scan. Humans stop its hold. We help us it too late. Humans heard none of Ithi were busy surviving. The person perspective shifted to a damaged destroyer. Its hull, crack a atmosphere, licking inside. The crew worked without panic. They sealed breaches raided, power carried, the wounded. They had lost friends, but not Purposian. Earth people watched names scroll across screens. Casualties confirmed. Ships lossy. Silence in cities was heavier still. No one demanded retreat. Understood something. Now this war was not far away. If humanity failed, the enemy would come for them. Back at the battlefield, the enemy regrouped. Its fragments began moving against the lighter labelli asterisk.
They jumped into the dark. Far away, alien sensors detected something impossible. Not a massive empire, not a known power, just a human fleet. Records showed humans as minor players. Traders, explorers, survivors. No one believed they would fight. The enemy did not notice them at first. Why would it? But space bent. Light shifted. Human ships exited jump space near the dead world. The sight stopped alien observers cold. Dozens of warships. Heavy armor. Focus formation. Not chaos. Not fear. Discipline. The galaxy had ignored the call, but could not ignore this. Third-person perspective widened, showing fear ripple through alien networks. Messages spread. Humans have arrived. On the human flagship, the commander watched the ruined world. Nothing moved. Too late, but not meaningless. He gave one command. Hold position. The fleet waited. Because humans did not rush blindly. They studied. They learned. They prepared. Far beyond sensors, something stirred. The enemy noticed and turned. Part 2 ended not with battle, but with realization. The galaxy had made a mistake. Humanity was here, and it was not leaving. The fleet did not move. Human ships floated in silent formation, like predators that had learned patience. No signals were sent. No weapons fired. The ruined world below stayed dark. A dead stone wrapped in ash clouds. Third-person eyes followed the commander, standing alone on the bridge. He watched the planet, not as a target, but as a grave. Behind him, officers waited, hands steady, voices low. Everyone felt it. Something was watching them. Deep space sensors whispered warnings. Gravity shifted. Radiation spiked. The enemy was close. Human analysts worked fast. They compared old alien data, forgotten war reports, broken legends. This enemy did not attack immediately. It observed, tested, waited. Humans understood this instinct. They shared it. On the support ship, the young crew felt the tension. Sweat formed. Breath slowed. No one joked. No one spoke loudly. They remembered the signal. We are still here. The commander finally spoke. All ships maintained silence. Prepare Phase 1. Phase 1 meant study. Small drones slipped into space. Invisible. Quiet. They mapped debris fields. Energy trails. Enemy movement. What they found chilled the fleet. The enemy was vast. Not one fleet, but many fragments, spread across systems. It was not conquering. It was feeding. Worlds were stripped slowly. Population erased. Resources absorbed. This was not war. It was consumption. Human strategists adjusted plans. This would not be a fast strike. This would be survival. Back on Earth, the public watched in silence. Feeds were delayed, blurred, controlled. People saw only distant stars, heard calm voices. They did not see the fear. Third-person narration shifted to the enemy perspective. It noticed the humans now. Sensors registered unfamiliar designs, inefficient shapes, strange formations. No known species use such ships. The enemy calculated risk. Low. Humans were few, their technology behind, their weapons untested. The enemy decided to probe. A small force detached, silent, fast. Human sensors caught it instantly. The bridge tensed. The commander raised a hand. Wait. The enemy probe approached. Its ship sharp and dark, moving without formation. They fired first. Energy tore through space. Bright and violent. Human shields held. The fleet did not respond. This confused the enemy. It fired again. Harder. Still no response. Then the commander spoke one word. Now. Human ships moved as one. Not charging. Not retreating. They shifted angles. Changed vectors. Locked positions. Weapons powered quietly. Human guns were not elegant. They were simple. Brutal. The first volley erased the probe. Not damaged. Not crippled. Gone. Space fell silent again. The enemy paused. This was unexpected. Third-person narration returned to human crews. Hands shook, then steadied. They had crossed the line. There was no turning back. The commander did not celebrate. He knew probes meant curiosity, not commitment. The real force was coming. Messages spread across the galaxy. Humans have fired. Some laughed. Some panicked. Some watched closely. Alien empires that had ignored the distress call felt shame and fear. They remembered the stories they told about humans. Emotional, fragile, divided. Those stories were wrong. The enemy responded. Space around the system darkened as massive forms emerged. This time, there was no probe. This was a presence. Human sensors struggled. Numbers climbed. Warnings overlapped. The fleet looked small now. Third-person eyes watched a young officer whisper a prayer. Not to gods, but to home. The commander addressed the fleet. This is what we came for. No speeches. No promises. Just truth. The enemy advanced. Its ships did not line up. Did not signal. They swarmed. Human ships did not break. They tightened formation. Covered each other. Shared fire. Each human loss was felt. Not hidden. Not ignored. Support ships pulled damaged vessels back. Repair crews worked under fire. The battle grew. Alien observers across the galaxy watched live feeds. Unable to look away. Humans fought differently. They retreated to strike. Sacrificed ground to gain position. Used debris as weapons. They adapted fast. The enemy adapted slower. It had never faced a species that learned this way. Hours passed. The dead world below was forgotten. As space became a storm of light and shadow, the enemy pressed harder. Human losses mounted. Then something changed. Deep within the enemy mass, structures appeared. Not ships, but cores. Human analysts realized the truth. The enemy was centralized. Cut the core. The swarm dies. The commander saw it. He ordered Phase 2. This was the part they feared. Selected ships broke formation, including the small support vessel. Its crew froze, then moved. They knew their role. They accelerated toward the core. Through fire, through chaos. Many would not make it. The enemy focused on them now. The galaxy watched in horror. Humans were charging the heart. Third-person narration slowed. Time stretched. On the support ship, alarm screamed. Systems failed. Crew bled. Still they moved. Because the signal echoed in their minds. We are still here. The commander watched their path. Jaw tight. Eyes wet. This was the human way. Not strongest. Not fastest. But willing. Part 3 ended as the support ship vanished into enemy fire. And the fleet held its breath, waiting to see if sacrifice would be enough. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson long ago. When danger comes, silence is safer than courage. This time the danger was everywhere. Far beyond the light of known stars, a world was dying. Its cities burned slowly under a dark sky. Its oceans boiled. Its people sent one last signal into space. The distress call was weak. Old, damaged, but full of fear. It carried only one message. We are under attack. We are running out of time. The signal traveled through empty space, past dead systems, past ruined civilizations, past watching empires. Many heard it. The great crystal lords received the call. They measured the threat and closed their borders. The Iron Coalition traced the signal, calculated the cost, and erased it from their records. The traders of the void listened for profit, found none, and turned away. One by one, the powers of the galaxy chose silence. They had seen this enemy before, a force that did not talk, did not warn, did not stop. It consumed stars and worlds alike. So the galaxy did what it always did. It survived by pretending not to hear. The distress call kept going. It repeated every few minutes, growing weaker, slower, more broken. Inside the dying world, the last defenders fought in ruins. They knew help would not come. They fought anyway. Children were hidden underground. Elders stayed behind. Soldiers stood their ground with empty weapons. Above them, the sky burned red. The narrator speaks of a galaxy that once believed in unity, once believed in rescue, once believed someone would answer. Those beliefs died long before this call was sent. Time passed. The signal drifted further, fading into background noise, lost among radiation and old war echoes. It should have ended there. But space is strange. Gravity bends paths. Time stretches moments. Chance changes history. The signal slipped through a narrow corridor of warped space. A place no map marked. A place no empire watched. It emerged near a quiet yellow star. Earth. Humans were not listening for distress calls. They were not searching for enemies. They were busy arguing with themselves. On orbital stations, human technicians worked routine shifts. Most signals were ignored. Most were noise. Then one pattern repeated. A junior analyst noticed it. Not because it was strong, but because it was sad. The signal was broken, but emotion leaked through. Fear lost desperation. The analyst replayed it again and again. This was not random. This was a voice. Protocol demanded reporting. So the signal moved up the chain. Scientists argued over origin. Military officers debated threat. Politicians asked one question. Is it real? Hours passed. The signal repeated. Humans decoded fragments. Images of fire. Cities collapsing. People running. No advanced technology. No powerful weapons. Just a world begging. Earth was not the strongest power. Humans knew this. They had survived wars, plagues, and near extinction. They were still learning to leave their own system. Many leaders said the same thing. This is not our fight. They listed reasons. We are not ready. We cannot afford it. We might die. They were correct. But humans also remembered something else. Every story of their past, every myth and history, had one lesson. When help does not come, you become it. The signal continued. Somewhere far away, the dying world fell silent. Its cities stopped burning. Not because peace came, but because nothing was left to burn. The distress call sent one final pulse. We are still here. On Earth, the room went quiet. No one spoke. Third-person eyes watched faces harden. Not with fear, but resolve. This was how every human war began. Not with hatred, but with a choice. The choice to stand or turn away. Outside the meeting chamber, Earth rotated calmly, unaware that history had shifted. Ships slept in docks. Crews trained without knowing why. Weapons waited. The galaxy believed the call had died. It believed no one answered. It was wrong. Far from alien eyes, human systems began to wake. Slowly, quietly. Because when the galaxy cried for help, humanity listened. And this was only the beginning. The signal did not stop. Even after the dying world fell silent, its echo lived on. Inside deep space, sensors around Earth kept recording the same broken sound. Again and again, like a heartbeat refusing to end. Human analysts stopped calling it a signal. They started calling it a voice. Third-person observers saw how the mood on Earth changed. Slowly, quietly, news of the signal leaked. First to scientists, then to military crews, then to civilians. People watched blurred images of burning skies. They listened to broken translations. They felt something old awaken. Empathy. Fear walked beside it. Human leaders met behind closed doors. The room was filled with tension. They knew the galaxy. They knew the stories. Every civilization that answered unknown calls had paid a price. Some never returned. Generals spoke of defense. Scientists spoke of caution. Economists spoke of survival. But the signal kept playing. A loop of suffering. A reminder. Third-person narration followed one quiet figure. A fleet commander. Old. Scarred. Experienced. He had fought wars humans barely remembered. He had seen what silence did. He did not speak at first. What he did, the room listened. If we ignore this, we teach the galaxy who we are. His words stayed. The meeting ended without a decision. Outside, Earth continued its daily life. Markets opened. Children went to school. Ships trained. But something was wrong. People felt it. Dreams changed. Stories spread. Artists painted burning stars. Writers spoke of duty. The signal was playing everywhere now. Not by command, but by choice. Crews on night shifts listened. Soldiers paused training. Engineers replayed fragments. The words "we are still here" became a quiet promise. Third-person eyes moved to the outer system, where Earth's war fleet waited. These ships were not beautiful. They were not symbols. They were tools, built for survival, for last dance, for wars humans hoped never to fight. Many had never seen battle. Others had tasted it deeply. Their captains waited. They knew the signal. They felt the pull. Still no order came. Days passed. The galaxy moved on. Alien empires celebrated their safety. They reinforced borders. They erased the dying world from records. History would say it vanished naturally. That lie spread fast. On Earth, the final council met. This time the room felt different. No one asked if it was real. No one asked about cost. They asked one thing. Who will go? Silence followed. Then one voice. Then another. Then many. Volunteers. Fleet crews stepped forward. Not because they were ordered, but because they chose. Families watched from screens. Fear and pride mixed. The commander returned. Stood tall. This fleet will not conquer. It will answer. The order came quietly. Prepare the war fleet. Deep beneath Earth and across orbital yards. Ancient systems woke. Reactors hummed. Armor sealed. Weapons armed. Ships that had slept for decades came alive. Third-person narration followed the smallest ship. A support vessel. Often ignored. Its crew was young. Nervous. Ready. They checked systems. Shared quiet looks. Said no speeches. They did not know if they would return. The fleet assembled slowly. Methodically. No banners. No songs. Only purpose. When engines ignited, space itself seemed to listen. The signal played one last time. We are still here. The fleet answered not with words, but with movement.